Welcome back to the fifth quarter podcast. Today we're going to be previewing week 3 of the NFL. I'm joined once again by JC. JC, thank you for joining us today.
Of course, glad to be a part of it. We got a quick, brief podcast, but we're going to get into some hot takes tonight.
As always, we're going to start by just jumping right into the week 3 matchups. A decent slate this week. I think there's only 3 games that have a higher than a touchdown spread. So expecting a lot of close games this week. So these picks may look really good in hindsight or really bad. But without further ado, let's get into it. We'll start with Thursday night football. The Miami Dolphins at 0-2 head to Buffalo to face the Buffalo Bills and arguably the best team in the league. JC, we'll start with you. Who do you like in this game?
Well, it's not a question of who's going to win. It's going to be a question of how much are the Bills going to win by. You have MVP candidate Josh Allen. You have Dalton Kincaid looking like he might break out soon, which is going to be an interesting layer to this offense. Everything's running smoothly. Bills are looking good, but more importantly, let's flip it on the contrary. You got the Dolphins led by quarterback Tua turn the ball over. Miami Mike McDaniel, who's going to lose his job at this rate, and they might not even get halfway through the season. You got Devon Achane giving this team their one, maybe their 2 touchdowns a game. Nothing's going right the Dolphins way. They might turn it around eventually, but it's not going to be against the Bills. It's too much of a powerhouse. Josh Allen MVP this year. What do you got?
Yeah, this is an easy matchup. The Bills are going to beat the Dolphins till they are black and blue, like Josh Allen's nose. This game is a no-brainer. Anyone who would pick the Dolphins here is clearly biased or was dropped on their head as a baby. Enough said on this one. Next up, the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers head to face my Patriots in Foxborough, Massachusetts. JC, Steelers, Patriots, who you like?
Well, like you said, we're looking at a lot of close spreads this week, and I don't expect anything different than a lot of these games coming down to a field goal. In the case of old man Rodgers and the Steelers, I've been liking what I've been seeing so far. And you could say similar things about the Patriots, but across the whole board, I think the Steelers get it done. 1, because you're a Patriots fan, so I got to go against you. 2, because they have a more veteran-led team. You have Drake May, the Mayflower, and house call Trey Hendrickson, who are young stars, very explosive, very talented players for the Patriots. But if you're going to pin the old vets against the young rookies, I'm taking the vets.
As much as I want my Patriots to win this game, I'm going to take the Steelers here. Mainly, it's because the Patriots have had a penalty problem. Week 1, they had 10 penalties. Week 2, they had 12 penalties. And when you face a team with a lot of veterans like the Pittsburgh Steelers, with a longtime veteran coach, Mike Tomlin, they will capitalize on these mistakes. The Patriots' offensive line, while much improved between week 1 to week 2, they have way too many pre-snap penalties. In this past week, Travion Henderson, who was the best run blocking running back in this past draft class, had 3 different holding calls. So for that reason, I'm going to take the team that is more veteran presence versus the young rookies. And I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers win a close game here, 23-20 in a smart battle. And I think because of the Patriots' inability to avoid these common penalties, these pre-snap penalties on the offensive line, give me the veterans to win this game for that reason. Give me the Steelers here. Next matchup, some might call this the matchup of all time, a quarterback battle of all time, a game that will never see red zone. We're talking about the Joe Burrow-less Bengals at the J.J. McCarthy-less Vikings. Jake Browning and the Bengals versus Carson Wentz and the Vikings. JC, Vikings fan here. Who do you like in this game?
Well, let me tell you. So the Bengals losing Joseph Cigar Smoking Burrow did look good last week. Jake Browning comes out of nowhere, puts on a show. They ended up winning that game. But here's the thing about the Bengals. They're inconsistent across the board. As good as they can be, flip it on its head, and they'll be that much in excess on the contrary. Now, you take the case of the Vikings. What people that are casuals aren't going to realize is that the Vikings with backup quarterbacks have been better than any other team in recent past. We'd had Sam Bradford, Case Keenum, couple other guys that I can't remember the names off my head, but this is a team that can integrate any quarterback plug and play. Last year, one of the most surprising games was when we threw in Josh Dobbs, the passer. Not he went off for like 250 and three. Granted, he did suck and get cut within the next week or two. But the moral of the story is that the Vikings have a more plug and play offense. If you're going to pin two quarterbackless teams against each other, yeah, this one's going to be close, but obviously it's going to be the Vikings.
Listen, I think Jake Browning might be the best backup quarterback in the league. When he comes into games as a backup, he has been extremely valuable, and I do not think that he gets the flowers that he deserves. However, give me the Vikings in this game. Listen, we all know JJ McCarthy's had his struggles, so do not be surprised when Carson Wentz gets in the game and the offense looks better than it has this past 2 weeks. There might be some dirt hitting the ground in Vikings land. The people of Minnesota might be saying, hey, maybe we should, play this guy over JJ when he comes back. But do not worry. This is called a veteran presence with all those weapons. Looking for the offensive line to hold up better than it has the past 2 weeks, but give me the Vikings in this game. I just do not think Jake Browning will be able to attack downfield with targets like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins like Burrow can, stepping into those deep throws. So for the Bengals to win this game, they're going to have to win it downfield passing, and I just do not think that anyone outside of Joe Burrow can do that against Brian Flores' defense. So give me the Vikings for those reasons. Next matchup, we have an AFC South divisional matchup. The 2-0 Indianapolis Colts with Indiana Jones, Daniel Jones, facing Cam Ward and the Titans in Nashville. Who you got?
So here's the thing. My personal favorite bounce back, and we're not talking about comeback player. This isn't an injury thing. It's just a guy who was overlooked his whole life. You got Danny Dimes, who comes out. What did the Colts have for the first game and a half? Not a single punt or fourth down turnover. I think that lasted a game and a half. And then, we'll flip it. We'll take a look at the Titans. They got nonchalant Cam Ward, who I love. We all love him. How can you not? But the Titans have just been brutal. It just seems like they don't have anything special on offense, a couple guys that can get it done. But as hot as the Colts are, and as much as I want to see this game be a 35-28 point Titans victory, I'm just going to have to take the Colts. They might win by a field goal. They might win by a touchdown. The margin will be less than 9 and greater than 2. We'll just put it at that.
Give me the Colts here. And not because of how great Daniel Jones has been, though. He has been great, but after week 1, they listened to me and they fed Jonathan Taylor from having 18 touches in week 1 to 25 in week 2. He had 215 total yards against the Broncos defense. This guy is still in his prime. He's still a dog. If they continue to feed Jonathan Taylor against the front of Tennessee, if he can break any to the second level or third level of the defense, the Colts will win this game, and I believe they will do that with that revamped offensive line. So give me the Colts here by a touchdown. Next up, another divisional matchup, this one in the NFC South. Michael Penix and the Atlanta Falcons coming off a Sunday Night Football easy victory against the Vikings, heading to face the merciless Carolina Panthers. Who you like in this matchup, JC?
Well, let's keep this one short. I've been loving the way that the Falcons offense is functioning, because you got Michael Penix, who kind of came out, did what we thought he was going to do, making Drake London look good, making Bijan Robinson look good, sharing the ball properly, getting everybody involved. And yes, they're playing the Panthers, a team that you just hope comes out and drops a 45-point nuke show at any given point. But I'm not going to bet on it. I'm certainly not going to predict it. Falcons by a touchdown.
Until the Panthers win a game, I will not pick the Panthers. Give me the Falcons in a 2-touchdown victory. The Panthers are abysmal They're not good on offense. They're not good on defense. They're not good on special teams. Enough said. Give me the Falcons here easily. Another divisional matchup in the AFC South. The Texans head to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars after starting the season 0-2. Who do you like in this matchup?
Well, this is going to be the first game that I go against the spread because I actually like the Jaguars. You got the Law Dog, Trevor Lawrence. He's looking all right. Nothing crazy, but he looks good enough. He looks like he's ready to win games. BTJ, we need to talk about the fact that this dude was an absolute stud for the better half of last year. Comes out looking underfed. He's not doing anything wrong. His routes look sharp. His separation looks fine. But let's address the elephant in the room. He's had a dropping problem. If I want to bet on one problem to get fixed over on the Panthers, over on the Jaguars offense, it's going to be BTJ catching footballs. Enough said. Jaguars look good this game. They'll get it done by 6.
I'm actually going to go on the opposite side, and it is because this Brian Thomas Jr. issue. Listen, Travis Hunter is not a wide receiver one. I think we all know that. Maybe he can reach that one day, but he's not there yet. Brian Thomas Jr. had only 1 catch on 7 targets week 1 and 4 catches this past week on 12 targets. So he's getting plenty of targets, yet only has 60 yards on the season. Until that's cleaned up, 1, yes, the drops, but 2, also Trevor Lawrence accuracy. I'm not a huge fan of what this offense is doing. They're putting up points, and I think they're really getting their ground game going. But until the Brian Thomas Jr. is blossoming in his full form, I'm not a huge fan of what the Jaguars are doing on the offensive side of the ball. So give me the Texans to bounce back, improve to 1-2, and win a very crucial divisional game and avoid going 0-3, which is essentially a death sentence. We'll get into that later in the podcast. Next matchup. An NFC divisional playoff matchup from last year that might have been one of the best games in the playoffs. The Los Angeles Rams head to Philadelphia to face the Eagles. Who you got?
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm going to take the Eagles for one reason and one reason only. I just traded JD5 and ETN for Jalen Hurts and Ashton Genty. That means 2 things. 1, Ashton Genty is going to start playing good. 2, Jalen Hurts is going to start playing even better because these things are correlated. My fantasy trades actually do have a real influence on NFL football. Give me the Eagles. Yeah, it's going to be a battle. It's not going to be an easy one. I just think they're going to close it out.
The Eagles won 2 very close games, one against a good Chiefs team that is well coached, and another against a worse Cowboys team with mediocre coaching. Now they're facing Sean McVay, a good front 7, and an offense that, like I said last week, would score over 30 points and get their mojo back. Give me the Rams here to upset the Eagles in Philadelphia. I like what Sean McVay is doing. Give me the Rams here by a touchdown. Next matchup, Tyrod Taylor and the Jets, with Justin Fields being out, head to Tampa Bay to face the red-hot Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield. Who you got?
Regardless of who's quarterbacking the Jets, I would take the Bucs regardless. You have what we've been saying for quite some time, and it keeps becoming more apparent, the best wide receiver trio in the league, no doubt. One of them being Ibuka, who looks like he could be the best receiver on this team. Great footwork, great route runner, great catcher. And like you said, the Bucs are red hot. I don't see a reason to think that that won't continue because a lot of people were down on Baker Mayfield last year. Regardless of that sentiment, he stayed good. He stayed hot. And this is a team that I think is going to make a serious playoff run. Why not keep them going right now? Bucs by 7.
Even if he only has one leg, Baker Mayfield is still better with how good this run game was. If you watch the Texans game on Monday Night Football in the early slot, this run game took off in the second half because of guys like Mike Evans, who's been doing what he's been doing for over 10 years, and having Emeka Ibuka fill wonderfully in the Chris Godwin role. People forget that Chris Godwin, before his injury last year, was the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy. His stats were amazing. So Emeka Ibuka has stepped into that role, being probably a wide receiver 1 on most people's teams in fantasy. I mean, that's how good he has been. 3 touchdowns in 2 games. He's been excellent, especially in the slot. So give me the Bucks here, easy pick. They're red hot. Baker on one leg plus that run game, and their defense making crucial stops with their pass rush. I really like what the Bucks are doing, and even if Justin Fields was starting this game, Bucks by 1,000,000 here. Next matchup, very interesting one here. Might be very difficult. The Raiders coming off a putrid performance against the Chargers, facing the Commanders, who are likely going to be without Jaden Daniels. JC, who do you like in this matchup?
Let's be optimistic here and say that JD5 plays. I think the Commanders win by 10. Let's be pessimistic and say he doesn't play. I think they still win by a field goal. The Raiders have potential. They have a lot of pieces. Like you take Geno Smith, for example. It seems like he's one of those guys that can be great on any given week and be kind of lower mid tier, winnable, but never the guy that just looks like he's doing everything right on other weeks. So I say any way you slice it, give me the Commanders. I think they have a lot of good things going for them. They have a pretty solid defense, and for whatever reason, Genty hasn't been getting fed. So if Genty's held another week without a touchdown, I think the Commanders just have all the more reason to take this.
I'm actually going to veer different. I'm going to take the Raiders in an upset here. The Commanders are only favored by 3.5 points, and I think the signs are pointing to Jalen Daniels likely playing. I guess more likely than not. But even with him playing, um, it's an ankle injury. He's not going to have his dual threat ability like he normally would. They have Max Crosby on the other side. And the run game of the Commanders and their offensive line was kind of exposed against the Packers. I don't think they have that run game to support it. And we've seen Terry McLaurin has really not been getting fed. So give me the Raiders here in an upset, expecting them to bounce back from a weak performance against the Chargers. And I expect Genty to take a big leap here against a weaker defensive line here. Into the next matchup, maybe the worst matchup of the week. The 2-0 Green Bay Packers heading to Cleveland to face the Browns. JC, I even got to ask, like, who you got here?
Being a Vikings fan, you hate to say it, but we're also ball knowers, so we can't go that far against the grain. The Packers are going to win this game easily. Believe it or not, I've been a fan of Jordan Love for the past 2 years. I know people got a lot of mixed emotions, but I don't see how you can rank him lower than a 10th quarterback, even in the Bear case. The Browns obviously just aren't going to do anything good. If I was a Browns fan, I'd stop watching football. We'll see red zone this week, how the Browns will get to the red zone. They still won't even throw that game up on the screen. Nobody cares about the Browns. Browns fans don't care about the Browns. Packers fans are going to turn this game off after they're up 21 in the third quarter. Give me the Packers by 14.
Joe Flacco does not have the ability to extend plays with his legs. The pass rush is too good, and the Browns' run game is not good enough to face that defensive line, especially on the edge and the linebacker core. Give me the Packers here, 27-13. I think that's all you have to say there. I mean, it's if you watch any football at all, you would know that this is a horrible matchup for the Browns. 7.5-point spread there. Next matchup, honestly, maybe the best matchup of the week. AFC West divisional matchup. The Broncos at Chargers. Chargers are favored by 2.5 points here. JC, who you got?
So I don't know if any of you guys remembered, but up until the end of the Broncos Colts game, when that kick got redone, the Broncos were holding the lead, looking good. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The
That
leverage
field
penalty.
goal that they got to do over on. So in a sense, we can pretend like the Broncos played good enough to win. I'd almost write it up as if it had the sentiment of a win because Bo Nix, who's been throwing picks, actually looked pretty good. He did what a lot of people thought he was going to do. The Chargers, I'll tell you, I turned off that Chargers Raiders game before the first half even ended. I couldn't watch it. I want to be a Chargers fan. The Hampton Inn's not getting fed. Herbert actually looks pretty good, but if his best receivers are Keenan, 40-year-old Allen, and Quentin Fool's Gold Johnson, then I just don't know how long it's going to last. I'll take the Broncos here by a field goal.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Broncos in an upset here. I think that their offense finally got their swagger back last week versus the Colts. And now let's be honest here. The Colts defense is not a bad defense. They're kind of more middle of the pack, but I mean, it's a solid defense that they were able to kind of rejuvenate their offense after a week one performance. So give me the Broncos. I'm not expecting them to score 30 points in this game, but give me the Broncos in a close one, 24-21. I know I'm not really speaking on the Chargers side here, but I just feel confident in the Broncos to deal enough with that Chargers great, excellent top 10, maybe top 5 defense. I think the Chargers have really kind of gained the respect of the league, especially on the defensive side. Next up, the Saints head to Seattle to face the Seahawks here. 7.5 point spread, one of the 3 large spreads of the week. JC, who you like in this matchup?
Well, being that I have an IQ higher than 70, I'm going to actually take the Seahawks here. We know how it goes. The Saints got lights Kamara action and nobody else. The Rattlesnake hasn't been doing good hasn't he started 9 games and hasn't won a single? Isn't he 0 for 9 as a starter?
It's rough. I know this past week was his best performance yet, but even in that, they still didn't win the game.
So that's the thing. You're taking Rattlesnake, best performance. Let's not forget the fact that Mac Jones actually played great in that game. He actually looked a lot better than I thought he would. But with that being said, Rattlesnake is not a winner. He's not in college on an overpowered team anymore. The Seahawks have been fine. You got former Viking Sam Darnold dishing out the rock. You got JSN doing what he's going to do. It's going to be Seahawks by a score. They'll win it if they score high. They'll win it if they score low.
Yeah, like I said last week, I'm not trying to toot my horn too much here, but I called the Seattle was going to go into Pittsburgh, and they were going to get their first win, and Sam Darnold was going to play better. He did play better from 150 yards week 1 against the 49ers to 259 yards this past week. He had 2 interceptions, which I think he's got to clean up, but against a weaker Saints defense, you have that home field advantage, the 12th man. And I think the only issue is JSN. He has, I think, a 40% target share, which is the highest since Jarvis Landry in 2017, I believe, and Jacoby Myers in 2022, I think it was, maybe 2021. So he's got to spread the ball out more. You got to use AJ Barner, the tight end. You got to use Cooper Kupp, which I think he did a better job of this past week. And I think like maybe Jake Bobo is their wide receiver 3. So I think they just got to spread the ball out better, use their run game a little bit more. But regardless, give me the Seahawks here. I think that's a very easy pick, especially considering the massive home field advantage of being in Seattle there. Next matchup, another divisional matchup. This one, the same division as previously mentioned, the Seahawks. We got the NFC West, 2-0 teams, 2-0 Arizona Cardinals facing the 2-0 San Francisco 49ers. So very important matchup here on the divisional side. Who do you like in this matchup?
I have a weird hunch that the Cardinals just deserve to be undefeated slightly more because, for the past year or two, I always feel like the Cardinals are so much better than what the first 5-6 games of the season represent from them. And I feel like that's just what overshadows how talented this team actually is. I understand it's a weird hunch, but I like the way their offense functions. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Kyle Murray's dual threat ability. He does it as good as anybody else. I'll take the Cardinals in a middle scoring game. Let's call it 28-27. Cardinals by a point.
Yeah, the 49ers here are only favored by 1.5 and they're at home. So, if this is on a neutral site, this might be even in the Cardinals' favor. So, also, Mac Jones will probably be starting for this team. So I'm going to take the Cardinals in an upset here. I like what they're doing. I especially love my Michigan man, Will Johnson, having a great 2 weeks in the secondary. He did get injured in the second half, hoping he's all right and will be able to play, but he's been a massive difference maker. And their defense hasn't even had their first round pick defensive tackle Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. So really like what I'm seeing from Jonathan Gannon in there. I think they played a lackluster second half, so that kind of needs to be adjusted. But really like what I'm seeing from the Cardinals. Give me the Cardinals here, 24-21. I like the Cardinals to go on the road, upset, and start out the season 3-0, which is a great start for that team. Last matchup of the afternoon slate on Sunday, the Dallas Cowboys head to Chicago to face the Chicago Bears. Who do you got?
I could see myself going either way on this, but let's play it safe. Caleb Williams is gayer than Dak Prescott. Therefore, the Cowboys have a better chance at winning. And we don't got to be all cookie cutter here. We don't got to pretend like this isn't going to have a huge factor, because one of these quarterbacks is always getting faded and never proving the haters wrong. I think we all know who that is. The other quarterback, Dak Prescott, seems to be a guy who on any given night can throw for 400 yards. I don't know if that needs to happen in order for them to win this game. It's supposed to be tight regardless. But let's get crazy with it. Cowboys beat the Bears 42-35.
Yeah, I know that just let up 52 points against the Lions, but give me the Bears to win their first game of the season against the Dallas Cowgirls. Give me the Bears here, 31-28 in a high-scoring game. The Bears are at home. Their offense started to get clicking in the second half. Hopefully they carry that momentum on offense over and sharpen up the defense a little bit. But as a weaker opponent than the Lions, less skill power on that. Would love to see the Bears get their first win, and I believe they're going to do that. So let's get to the Sunday night football. Two teams that are winless. The Kansas City Chiefs at the New York Giants, MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, not even New York. Who you got?
Well, we're not supposed to be biased on this show, but I'm going to be biased. I would want nothing more than the Giants to take this game in some weird 21-7 type of scoring format, in some weird Malik Neighbors getting it done by himself, 2 touchdowns, 150 yards. I understand that this doesn't really go with the grain. It doesn't go with the way that I traditionally try and handicap these games. But I want the Giants to win. I think there's a chance the Giants win. Why not keep beating the Chiefs down into the ground after all these years of the bullshit? Give me the Giants by 10.
As much as I want to see Malik Neighbors, my wide receiver one, and the Giants win this game, give me the Chiefs by 17. I know they're 0-2. I know they got their issues, but the Giants are just such an inferior opponent. And just like the Panthers, I will not pick the Giants to win until they win a game. I picked them to beat the Cowboys last week, and they had an epic choke with so many opportunities to win. They couldn't stop the Cowboys from getting in field goal range. They couldn't stop the Cowboys on their second drive of overtime. They couldn't score. They got to like a 3rd and 18 on their first drive of overtime on offense. So Russell Wilson can throw 450 yards and Malik Neighbors can go off and they still can't win the game. If that's not enough, then nothing will be enough. Chiefs by 17 here. And the last matchup of the week, maybe the best matchup of the week, could argue the Broncos Chargers is, but what a great primetime game here. The only good primetime game of the week. The Detroit Lions at the Baltimore Ravens. Who you got?
It's hard not to take Lions every time I see them, because you just know how good this team was in the past. But I feel like it's becoming more apparent every week how the loss of the offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, has impacted this team. I feel like it's safe to take the Ravens. I feel like it's crafty to take the Ravens. I feel like it's expected to take the Ravens. I mean, they're at home. They're -5.5. Let's not get too complicated with it. Ravens by a score. Lamar Jackson, 90 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns.
Wow. I will not bet against Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. I know Derrick Henry didn't have a biggest game, but they still won by 24 points. Even with that, Lamar Jackson can beat you as a pocket passer. I don't think too many people realize that his arm accuracy is great, and especially since having Todd Monken in his offense, he's been an MVP caliber passer every single year. And don't forget about Zay Flowers and that huge impact. Give me the Ravens here. I like them by 10 points in this matchup. Um, but yeah, that's it for our weekly picks. I think we had a pretty good week last week. I'm not sure if you've totaled up your score yet, but last week I went 12-4. I know we had a lot of differencing opinions. I think you might have had a better week 1 than me. I had a better week 2, but how do you think you did last week?
I filled out a weekly pick'em bracket, and I know I got between 11 and 13 games right. I stopped tracking after the 3 p.m. slot ended, but I'll have to go back. I know it was upper mid tier, nothing crazy.
Yeah, I tracked it. Last week I went 12-4, so a very solid week 2. Week 1 I went 8-8, so right down the line. So hoping to keep that success. Week 1 I picked some crazy upsets like the Browns to beat the Bengals. They choked in that. I expected the Panthers to not be awful like they have been. Kind of went against history there. Expected the Falcons to beat the Bucks. They missed that field goal as time expired. And then the Ravens choking against the Bills. So many opportunities there that were available, and they just didn't get it done. But a solid week 2, so glad to improve in that aspect, and hopefully this week we can go undefeated, or maybe we have some difference in opinions. I can go undefeated, not you. But with that being said, after week 2, there are 10 teams in the NFL that are 0-2. I know this is a common statistic that sports media and football world love to bring up. Teams that start 0-2 and how bad their playoff chances are decreased after starting off the season winless after 2 weeks. In the past 5 years, teams that started 0-2 have made the playoffs 16% of the time. There was a huge increase. Last year, there were 3 teams that went from 0-2 to the playoffs, those being the Ravens, the Rams, and the Broncos. The Ravens and Rams both won their divisions. The Broncos made the wild card at 10-7. The Ravens went 12-5, so the biggest increase. The Rams also went 10-7, winning their division, but as you can see, after starting 0-2, the Ravens went 12-3 after that, so a massive jump. But there are 10 teams, like I mentioned, that went 0-2 and then made the playoffs later that year. So we're going to go over the teams that have the best chance of going from 0-2 to make the playoffs. And just for note, in the past 5 seasons, a team that started 0-3 has not made the playoffs. So not saying it's impossible, but it's impossible. So there are 10 teams here. I'll list them off that are essentially facing elimination this week, and some of them are facing each other. Like I mentioned, the Sunday night football game, the Chiefs versus the Giants, 2 teams that are 0-2, essentially facing elimination on primetime. You also have the Saints, the Jets, the Texans, Dolphins, Titans, Panthers, Browns, and Bears. A lot of teams that we are not surprised are there. But JC, of all these teams, who do you think are 1 or 2 teams that have the best chance of going from 0-2 to the playoffs?
Well, I think that the best 2 teams to look at, if we're being completely honest, are the Chiefs and the Texans. I want to give a little bit of an edge to the Chiefs just for the fact that I don't even want to say it, but I got to give the edge to the Chiefs just for the fact that I think Mahomes is easily the best quarterback out of this 10-team sample size. Yeah, he gets glazed unnecessarily, and yeah, there's other guys that have done it better in the last 1-2 years. But let's just be real here. Eventually, Rashee Rice is going to come back. Mahomes is going to get his weapons back. He's going to turn up. He's going to keep looking good. This defense is well coached. They always find ways to get it done. If there's a close game, you know that Andy Reid is going to be game scripting his way to get those weird field goals off. Harrison Butker is a clutch kicker, so there won't be any problems there. I don't want to say it. I don't like to say it, but I have to say it. The Chiefs 0-2, turn it around, make the playoffs. What do you got?
So I think any rational person here would say that the Chiefs and the Texans would be the respective 1 and 2 picks here. But if you look at their schedules, I mean, this is going to be difficult. One, the Chiefs already have a loss in the division, and every team in their division is very good. You could say the Raiders maybe are weaker, but still, you still have to play one more game against the Chargers and two more against the Broncos. But outside of that, the Chiefs have to face the Ravens, the Lions, the Commanders, the Bills. You could even say the Colts, maybe, if the Colts continue to stay hot, on top of their 5 other divisional games. They have some easier games. They play the Titans, they play the Cowboys, and then they have kind of some medium games like against the Jaguars, but very difficult schedule. It's going to be very hard to pull themselves out of this hole, especially because right after facing the Giants this week, they face the Ravens, and then they face the Jaguars and the Lions back to back. So, I mean, very difficult stretch ahead of them. I think they're going to need some late season turnarounds. And the Texans, too, have a kind of a difficult schedule. They face a division game, like we mentioned, the Jaguars this week. That is a crucial win, not just for avoiding going 0-3 and essentially being eliminated, but is a division game. Got to win that. And then they have another division game right after against the Titans, which, should be an easier win for them. So if they can get over the hump of the Jaguars this week, get that win and face the Titans and get back to 2-2, that would really help, because right after they have to face the Ravens, Seahawks, and 49ers, and then the Broncos. So, I mean, a tough stretch before another 2 games against the Jaguars and Texans. And then not only after that, then they have to face the Bills. They have to face the Chiefs. So really not an easy schedule for either side. I mean, especially just because of how loaded the AFC is this year. But anyone with a rational brain knows that these 2 teams are clearly the best. I think the only 2 teams on that list that made the playoffs last year. So if we're just taking history and coaching and quarterback play as the denominator for this, I think those are the easy picks for anyone. But maybe pick one team outside of those. So the other 8 teams that are 0-2, you're kind of wild card of any of those teams to make the playoffs. I'll mention them again: the Dolphins, Titans, Panthers, Browns, Bears, Jets, Saints, and Giants. Who is your wild card to go from 0-2 to make the playoffs?
Who I wanted to say, had it not been the Chiefs, was the Giants. They looked horrible week 1, but that's not even atypical of the Giants. I feel like we see that happen all the time. They'll just go out, score no touchdowns, couple field goals, whatever. Nothing new to that franchise. They looked absolutely great against the Cowboys. Obviously, that game went to overtime, so it really could have gone either way. That's just how it goes in the NFL. Sometimes in overtime, when in the NFL, I mean, more often than not, it comes down to a coin flip. It doesn't feel like the Giants really did a whole lot wrong over there. But with that being said, I want them to turn it around. I mean, Giants tend to hit the playoffs and even take out a pretty good team. I think they've made it to the second round the last 2 years straight, and I don't see why they can't do it again.
Yeah, I'm gonna veer different from you. If any of those wild card teams has a chance, I'm gonna take the Miami Dolphins. Me and you both picked these in our preseason rankings to make the wild card. We both picked the Dolphins as a wild card team, and although although they are 0-2, they still have a load of talent, and I know they got blown out in week 1, but they had a very solid chance to win week 2. If Tua can limit his interceptions thrown, Devon Achane has looked amazing. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle have both kind of resurged their production levels, and their defense still has Bradley Chubb. I think their secondary is really weak. So they're going to have a struggle against teams, like the Bengals with great wide receivers, or maybe like teams like the Eagles with teams that have 2 very good wide receivers. That's going to be their kind of main struggle. But there's still a lot of talent there. Unfortunately, they do have to face the buzzsaw that is the Bills this week. So, starting 0-3, statistically, they're going to have a really difficult chance. But, They still have one more game against the Patriots, who are kind of a middle of the pack team, two more games against the Jets, who are a weaker team in the division. So they don't have that cannibalization of interdivision play. And then they have all the talent in the world to win games, especially on the offensive side. So that would kind of be my wild card pick for that. But yeah, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, the reason I really veered against picking the Dolphins is because of the matchup that they have this week. Because a lot of the same a lot of the same players from last year are still there. It's not like that team got ripped apart and disassembled. They still have the core. Like you said, there was a resurgence in the pass game, which is going to be super important to that team because I think they really win all their close battles on the offensive end. So, yeah, I mean, matchup's going to play a role in the event that they are 0-3. It makes things just statistically difficult, as well as having the setback of the record to even reach wild card spot. It's less likely. I don't mind it though. I like that take.
Yeah, I think if anyone had the chance, it would be them. I think the right side of their offensive line, they need to get some of those key pieces back, having two new starters at right tackle and right guard, but having two amazing wide receivers, an amazing running back. If Tua can just limit his turnovers, he looked really solid when giving time to pass. And then on the defensive side, they're really not great, but their special teams was really great. They had a punt return touchdown, and Jason Sanders continues to be an excellent kicker. So, I think they have the talent to be a wild card team, not a Super Bowl contender, but a rough start. If they would have got the win against the Patriots, would have really helped, especially going into a difficult short week against the Bills. We'll see if they get any of their offensive line back on the right side. That would be a huge help against the front because I believe that Joey Bosa was the highest graded edge defender, and he is on the Bills, as many people forget. So, going to be a difficult matchup on that side. He might terrorize them. But yeah, was there another segment that you wanted to get into here?
Yeah, I think we should take a second to talk about offensive rookie of the year real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. Start it off.
So obviously, this is a way too early rating. I don't even think that there's any official sportsbook lines out, at least not on DraftKings, from what I can see.
I did see something on Instagram. I saw that Tyler Warren is plus 350 and Emeka Buka was plus 450, maybe plus 400. There's 400 or 450. Those are the only two that I can remember from that, but continue.
Okay, well, what's good about that is you bring up Ibuka and Warren. The common theme of rookie is shining is situation. Are they utilized in their offense? Are they fed? First impression has a little bit to do with it, but then you go back a couple years, you had Jefferson and Chase. They were late bloomers. Same thing with JSN. Same thing with a couple other guys. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but a great rookie doesn't need to start good. It's just the public sentiment is going to be so much more of that first impression bias. Aside from that, I still think that the best rookie in this draft class was Ashton Genty. And the only thing holding him back is that his situation's worse. But this is the thing. In order to be a truly great running back, you need to be game script proof. You need to be situation proof. We saw Saquon Barkley do it on the Giants. We've seen Jameer Gibbs do it on the Lions. Yeah, the Lions offense looked great last year, but half the reason why is because they have a running back that's that much of a weapon. I think Genty turns it around regardless of everything going on. All he needs is his workload. All he needs is a chance. Sleeper dark horse rookie of the year, Ashton Genty, and you heard it here first, and you're not going to hear it anywhere else.
You know, I saw a statistic today that reaffirms my belief in Ashton Genty. That was he has a total of a negative 3 yards before contact on his runs. We know how good he is after contact, but he only has 81 rushing yards, and 84 of those are after contact. Unbelievable. Um, Essentially, if you look at it, that means that the offensive line is blocking so badly that he's getting hit in the backfield on average more than he's getting hit beyond the line of scrimmage. So I'm a Genty believer. I know you are too. And I believe that we are both, I can speak for both of us when I say that we're both very confident in Ashton Jeanty. This is not his fault. This kind of looks like how Boise State did against Penn State, where you got a bunch of plumbers and accountants blocking for this guy. So if they can just block a little bit better, I know they have a great left tackle. Maybe they have to go to the left side, but if their guard play can just be a little bit better, he will be amazing. I promise you, people that are watching that own him in fantasy, hold on to him. He's going to be a star. And I think we mentioned this in one of our last two podcasts, but as the year goes on, his statistics will get better. He will perform better in fantasy. This team will look better because of it. Because teams right now are just completely selling out against the run, forcing Geno to beat him with his arm. It worked. He was surgical against the Patriots. And then the Chargers, it was complete opposite. He had 3 interceptions. So hold out on Jeanty. Do not trade him yet. Do not overreact. He's going to be a star. Just let this offensive line mold together. Let Pete Carroll handle it. I promise you, there's no better guy that will be able to do this besides maybe Jim Harbaugh. But just be patient. And I like Jeanty for Rookie of the Year still. But if I had to take a second pick, I would take Emeka Egbuka. Listen, Tyler Warren has good odds, but 1, he's a tight end. And 2, he's more of a versatile tight end. He's not a pass catching first tight end, like more of like an oversized wide receiver. He does get involved in the run game. He is motioned to kind of have those lead blocks like a pull guard. So the Colts are 2-0. Daniel Jones has the most passing yards in the league. Tyler Warren is a dog. Trust me, I have him in my fantasy. I know he's a dog. I always believed in him. But when it comes to Rookie of the Year, being a tight end and seeing how strong the year started, I just do not think that production level at the end of the year is going to compare to someone like a running back or a wide receiver. And we all know how the media bias plays in with those different skill positions. So that's my long rant and thoughts on that. I'm a Jeanty truther, and trust me, guys, if you know ball, if you know statistics, Jeanty will be better. It's not his fault.
Wow. That's crazy. We just read each other's mind. Not scripted. You won't see that anywhere else but the 5th quarter, folks.
Okay, well, that's it for us. Just wanted to shout out my 2 teams in fantasy and my 2 paid leagues. Had a clean sweep, even in my 3rd league that's unpaid. Went 3-0 in fantasy. I'm 2-0 in my main 2 leagues, and the Patriots won this weekend. So excellent weekend. Would love to repeat that, especially as the Patriots face the Steelers, 2 rundown teams that used to be rivals. Your Vikings, unfortunately, without JJ McCarthy for a few weeks, but honestly, they might even be better in the temporary. This is probably good for the Vikings. So, but also getting to face the Joe Burrow-less. I know you love Joe Burrow, so it's kind of sad. You want to see those guys play. But good luck to the Vikings. Hopefully they get the dub this week. And thank you to JC for hopping on. He's essentially a 5th quarter member at this point. So thanks for joining us, JC. Any closing thoughts?
It's always a pleasure. Everybody just take the time to remember that Joe Burrow's never had an offensive line that put up numbers above probably bottom 5 in the league consistently. Because I know that things might start clicking and we're not going to see him on the field, but he's still the guy. Just because he's not playing, if things get better, don't be fooled. He's the man. He'll be back. He'll make the playoffs.
Saw an amazing statistic from PFF that Joe Burrow has been sacked per game on average more than Andrew Luck was. And Andrew Luck retired, I think, after his 7th season, and Joe Burrow's in his 6th. So something to keep note of. I mean, this guy has the Andrew Luck of O-lines, if not worse. And he stays in there, makes the throws, and takes those hits. So I posted a video today on our Instagram and our TikTok. If you guys want to go ahead and give that follow, it's at the 5th quarter media, at the 5th quarter media. Posted a clip about, I believe that the Bengals should trade Trey Hendrickson now to get as much value, have a 1st round pick in the teens, assuming they miss the playoffs, a 2nd round pick, and hopefully a 2nd round pick that they could get from another team for Trey Hendrickson, or a conditional 3rd round pick. Use 2 of those picks to rebuild the offensive line, and 1 of them on the defensive end to kind of fill that Trey Hendrickson role. So maybe before you go, JC, kind of your thoughts on on that sentiment of trading Trey Hendrickson now versus trading him at the deadline or letting him play for the entire season because Joe Burrow doesn't come back until the Bengals are 13 or 14 games into the season.
That's the thing. You always have conflict when it comes to the tug on the NFL managers and GMs on, do you want to be good now and appease the fan base, or do you want to be good later and boost the value of your franchise? In this situation, I can see the argument either way. Me personally, I like the idea of selling a guy high. Not that you want to part ways with a great player, but the fact that he'll go and play for another team, he'll do fine, he'll make his salary, and you at least will get the draft picks that you need to keep your fan base engaged and to keep the excitement going in the long term. I don't see the problem with the trade, and I think it's a very real possibility that would be obviously beneficial down the line.
Yeah, I think there was a few things that after watching the video back, a few key details that in hindsight I wanted to include. I think a lot of people when they say trade this guy for future pick, they think that you're just giving up on the team and you're rebuilding. Listen, this is not a rebuild for like 2-3 years from now. This is a rebuild for next year. This is not a rebuild. This is like the retool, some might say, the reload. And listen, if you have 2 or 3 picks in the top 50, top 60, those are very valuable picks. Those are starters. So you're adding an extra starter. You have Shamar Stewart on one end of the defensive line, and he's only going to be 1 year into his rookie contract. You add another one there. You have 2 guys on rookie contracts. The defense is bad. You'll have another 2 offensive line in my hypothesis that you would have on rookie contracts. So you spent the money on your quarterback and 2 weapons for him, and then you have rookie contracts for your defensive ends, your edge rushers, which are the next most expensive position, and as well as on the offensive line, especially on the tackles, which is the next most expensive. So the Eagles built their team by drafting in the trenches. They paid their quarterback and they paid 2 big wide receivers. It's just essentially copy that blueprint, draft O-line, D-line, and just hammer that out and kind of follow that blueprint. So that's my thoughts on that.
I like it.
The only thing is they don't have a Saquon, but Chase Brown to the moon, I guess, for some. I'm not a big believer in that. But yeah, that's going to do it for this episode of the 5th Quarter. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Smash that like button, follow us, and subscribe. And really, if you want to be really involved, go to our Instagram and TikToks at the 5th Quarter Media, at the 5th Quarter Media. Appreciate any support. Love you guys. Thank you for all this. And JC, thank you again for coming on this podcast. You're always welcome. And excited to talk next week as we hit the quarter mark of the NFL. So JC, thanks for coming in and, take care, man.
Anytime.